Welcome to the second lecture of the 2024 mentorship series. In this video, I will give a walkthrough of Tradingview and how I like to use it. If I missed anything important in this video, it will be covered in the future lectures when the time arises. The first step you are going to take is to go to Tradingview. So you can just Google Tradingview. And from here, you're going to click the first link here, tradingview.com. And once you are on this website, at the top right, you can click on this person icon, sign in. From this page, you can either sign in using Google, Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo, Apple, or LinkedIn. But if you want to make an account with an email only, then you can just click sign up down here. Once you are logged in, you will be redirected to the home page of Tradingview once again. The first thing we are going to do is to create our watch list, which would be this list right here. I've cleared mine just to make things a little simpler, but when you first create your account, I believe there should be some tickers here. On the right side, you can just click the X's on them and start fresh. I would just do indices because that is what I trade, but if you have any other assets you want to trade, you can do the same exact process I'm about to show you to add it to your watch list. So the three tickers we're going to be adding to our watch list is NQ, ES, and YM. To add these tickers to our watch list, at the top right, there will be a little plus icon. And once you hover it, it will say add symbol. So you're going to click on that. And the first ticker we're going to add is NQ. So the first one that pops up will be NQ, this one right here, by CME Group. You can click on that little plus at the right side, add to watch list. And then we're going to do the same process for ES as well. The first one here, E-mini S&P futures, right? By CME Group. Click the plus there. And then we're going to do that for YM lastly. And that would be the Dow. For YM, we're going to be using Chicago Board of Trade. And click the plus on the watch list. Once your tickers are on the watch list, you can customize your watch list by clicking on the three dots at the top right, which would be the settings. So you can click on settings, and then you can add section. In this section, we're just going to name it indices. From here, just drag it to the top, and then we can drag these tickers underneath it so that now it's a little more organized. And in the future, if you have other things you want to look at, then you can add more sections and add more things below them. If you want to make it look a little cleaner as well, you can always drag this bottom part down, and now your watch list is here. To go to the charts, you can just click on any of these tickers now. So if I want to go NQ, I click on NQ and it'll bring me to the chart. ES and YM. So let's just look at NASDAQ for now, just to set up our charts. So once you click on NQ, you'll see this page, and you can click on See on Super Charts. And it'll bring you to the live chart. Once you're on the charts, you may notice that you have a highlighted capital D at the top left right next to the ticker, and that means that your data is delayed. The reason your data is delayed is because we have to pay a subscription monthly for that data fee. So the first step you would want to do is go to your profile. You can go to account and billing. And from here, you would go to my plan and you would click on change plan. Right now we have the Black Friday sale, but in the future, when I release this video, it'll be over, but it'll be the same page as this essentially. And you would just click on whichever subscription you want. When you're first starting out trading, I would say that essential package is just all you need. And then as you get more advanced in trading, then you can go for premium, which is what I have. Once you have this subscription, you would go back to your profile, account and billing, and down here there will be subscriber classification, and you would just declare your status, and then you would buy the subscription for CME group data. And once you have all of that, your data will be in live time. Heading back to the chart. Once we are on the chart, we can edit our template so that all our charts look nice and cater to what we want it to look like. So the first thing I would do is down here, there are these volume bars. You can either right click it and remove it, or you can middle click it and that will delete it as well. And that goes for anything on your chart if you want to delete it, such as drawings. So if we use this line, I can just middle click it and it'll delete. Now the next thing you want to do is to make sure that the B adjust, which basically means that the continuous contract we are looking at right now, meaning that price is continuous, will be adjusted for each contract change and will change the highest open interest one. So we're going to click on B adjust. And from here, that will now adjust all the contracts to fit together nicely. And we have a clearer read on price. So just make sure that's on. In the future. You don't have to think about it and you don't really have to understand why this does what it is. Just make sure it's on. And then next, you're going to want to change your time to New York time zone, because everything in this mentorship will be taught based around this, as well as everything ICT concept related is based around New York time zone. So click New York. Once you're here, UTC -5 right now with daylight saving time. And once that's set, it's going to be set there forever and you don't have to touch it anymore. Moving on, you want to right click your chart and go to settings. And the first one you'll see here is symbol on the left side of this tab. So we're going to click on symbol. And from here, we can edit our chart to look as pretty as we want it to be. So a suggestion I have for you guys is to go to Google and just search up color palettes, right? And then you can just go find a color palette that you like. For example, here, it's like, oh, wow, this looks so great. And let's just say, okay, I want my green colors to be this one, so I can just copy it. I'll go back to Tradingview and I'll make the bodies this color. So custom color, I'll click the little plus at the bottom here, add custom color. And then I'll just paste that hex code in here. Let's say I want my up close candles to be this green color. And then going back to our color palette, I want our down close candles to be this brown color, for example. Add custom color once again, paste it in, add. And then borders, I generally like to just make it black. Same as my wicks, just make them black. And after this, you can go back to color palette. Let's say I want my background to be this color, which we can go to scales, I believe. No, sorry, canvas. Once we're in canvas, we can go to background, solid, and then add your own custom color once again. For example, I know it looks really ugly, but I will fix this with my own colors and I'll be right back. All right, and I'm back. So you can just copy these settings if you want to just make your chart look the same way I make it. So I'll just go through it really quickly. So my body is 70% opacity with this blue right here. And then my down close candle will be this shade of gray with 70% opacity as well. My borders are black, my wicks are black. And then I turn off the last line color. That way it's just consistently black. Or, oh sorry, when I keep it on, I just make it black, which will be that line right here. It'll show price, where price is right now, that black dotted line. Or I like to just turn it off and have it show price over here, because that way it just looks a little cleaner to me. Next up, we have our highs and lows, bid and ask. For all of these, I just turn it off. For all the other ones, I just leave it default. The next one would be status line. And what I like to do, you don't necessarily have to do this, but you can just go through these settings and dabble with it. For status line, it will be this top left right here. That's what these settings are affecting. So for me personally, I just turn everything off. And that way it makes my top left look very clean. But once again, if you want to add your stuff here, like for example, your title, you can change your ticker, make it a little cleaner like that, for example. But once again, I like to just turn everything off, and that's what I'm going to do for this tutorial. Next, we have scales. And once again, you can play around with this, and I'll just put all the settings I personally use here. So I turn off symbol less price. And then I turn off the no overlapping. Oh, sorry, I leave this one on. Countdown to bar close, I like to leave that on to know when the candle will close and open a new one. I turn off the plus button. And I just leave everything else on. So these are my settings for these scales. Next, I have the canvas. And the color I have is a custom one, which would be DCD3C9, and that's the hex code. And then from here, I turn grid lines off. And for my crosshair, I like to make it solid. So just a line. And then I like to make my opacity 20% opacity. And I just leave the same gray. That way, when I'm hovering over, it's not obstructing my view too much. And it's just a nice crosshair where if I want to find a specific price level, I just have a line. I can line it up, look to the right of my screen, see the price there. But once again, we'll get into this all as we get through the mentorship more. Moving on, watermark is off. For text, I like to make it 12, but I also like to make it black, just so then it looks a little cleaner on the right side and the bottom here. You can see, once again, I'll change it. If I change it back to gray on the right side and the bottom, I like to use black because it just stands out really nice on this background color. For lines, I just leave it at 0 opacity so we don't see it. And for the rest of the stuff, I just leave it as is. Then next up, we have trading. For this part, I wouldn't say it's very necessary yet, because if you are just starting out, there's no point in having these settings really. You should just be strictly studying and learning the concepts first. So I'm not even going to cover this. If you have traded before, then I'm pretty sure you already know how to use Tradingview. So if you know how to use Tradingview already, then you can skip this if you'd like. But I will include a lot of my templates for my rectangles or trend lines, stuff like that, in the later parts of this video. Then you can also have events here, which would be the final tab here on the left side. And what I like to do is I just turn off the continuous contract switch because it's kind of obstructing my view and makes it look a little less clean, which would be this purple circle at the bottom here that if you hover over creates a dotted line. I like to turn these off. And I like to turn off the latest news and mines. And the reason I turn off latest news and mines is just because I usually look at Forex Factory to be aware of my news anyways. And that's what honestly everyone should be doing, in my opinion, rather than looking at the Tradingview news events. So that would be everything for the chart settings. Oh, and one last thing. When you complete all of this settings, then at the bottom left, you want to click on template and then save as, and you can just type I'll just type my personal chart, for example, and you can just name it as anything you want. And from now on, it'll be saved here. So I can apply defaults, for example, and then I can click on my personal chart and then everything will come back. So that would conclude the settings for the charts. The next thing that I wanted to cover is drawing tools. So let's just get this watch list out of the way to make things a little cleaner. So at the top right, I just click on this watch list and it'll close it. So from here, we're going to use a couple tools mainly, and I'm going to add them to your favorites list just so then it's easier to access. So at the top here, your trend line, right? So there's gonna be an arrow that pops up right next to it on the right side. When you hover over it, you're gonna click on that arrow and you're gonna click the star next to trend line. You're gonna click the star next to vertical line. And then next we have the third one down of our drawing tools section. And we're gonna click on that little arrow as well. And on Fibonacci retracement, we're going to click on the star. And that's all for this one. Moving on, we do not need any of the fourth one down. We're going to use the third one down now. So we're going to put a star next to long position, short position. And that's all we need from this tool. Then next we have our brushes, arrows, and shapes. From here, you can put a star next to path. And that's all we need from this one as well. If you want, you can star highlighter. This is a useful tool if you ever want to highlight stuff. For example, when I'm highlighting highs and lows, I'll just put like dots, for example. And then next we have our text tools or our annotation tools. And from here, I just put a star next to text. And from here, that's all I use, to be honest. And then you also have your stickers, your emoji, stickers, icons, if you want to add them to the chart. For example, if I want to add thumbs up right here for some reason, right? These ones, I usually just exit my full screen, or I come to the left side and then I'll click on the icon. And then one thing I really like to use is magnet mode. And what this does, it snaps your crosshair to the nearest candle, high, low, open, or close. So if you turn that on, you'll see my cursor start snapping onto different points of the chart. So let's just say I select my drawing tool of a trend line. And right now I have selected strong magnet. So whenever I'm near any swing high, for example, or high of a candle, then it'll automatically snap to it. And same as the lows, you can see how my mouse is automatically, or my cursor is automatically snapping to that. So I can click, and then I'd have to move my mouse up here to draw it around, but it automatically snaps. You can see how it's automatically snapping. If you want it to be a weaker magnet, you can also do that. Just change the settings to weak magnet. This is the setting I personally use, where if I'm not close enough to the price action, then it won't automatically snap. But if I do get close enough, then it'll snap when I'm in proximity of it. If you can see the crosshair in relation to my mouse, right? Once I get close enough, it snaps. So that's just the magnet mode that I like to use personally, and I keep that on all the time. If I ever want to draw a line and want magnet mode to turn off, then I'll hold control so it'll turn off the magnet. You'll see here, it turns it off, hold control, and then you can draw a line anywhere you want. If I let go of control, magnet mode is back on and my drawing starts to snap to things once again. And let's say, okay, I want to draw it in between this point and this point that it's snapping to. I'll hold control. I can put it right in the middle of that wick, for example. So that's a very useful tool as well. But these tools over here are basically everything you need. One I did miss was actually the rectangle, and that would be the sixth one down. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you click on the arrow, and there will be a rectangle here. You can click on the favorites for this one as well. And now all your tools that you'll need for this mentorship are here. And down here, if you ever want to hide your favorites toolbar, then you just click on the star at the bottom left and hide it, or you can show it. Personally, I like to use this because it's just a little faster to draw things I wanted to draw. So that's one tip I have for you guys. For some of these drawing tools, you will have hotkeys for them. So for example, for a trend line, I can press Alt and T together, click somewhere, and it'll draw my trend line. For a vertical line, I can click Alt and V, and it'll automatically place lines. Unfortunately, there aren't hotkeys for every single drawing tool, and the only two I use that have hotkeys is the trend line and the vertical lines. For everything else, it'll be in your favorites toolbar anyways, so you can just go to the top here or wherever you want to drag it on your page, and you can just click on it and apply it to your charts. Continuing on with drawing tools, I'm now going to cover preset templates for my drawing tools. So let's start with the trend line. So I can either click on the trend line in my favorites tool up here to draw one on my chart, or I can press Alt and T at the same time and then plot it on my chart. Either way works. So from here, what I like to do is I like to pre-edit my lines so that I can double click on it. The line, make it black, make it dotted, and then I like to make it also the thickness, the first thickness here. And that way it just looks cleaner to me. I also like to turn down the opacity to around 50 or even 75. And that way my dotted lines usually just look a lot cleaner. For example, when I'm plotting out specific highs, or I wanted to plot out specific levels that I want to plot out, for example. So this way I just think it's cleaner. If you double click this, you can also add text to the line. So here we have style. You can include the stats if you want. You can just play around with these settings. Then you have text. I usually turn on text. I make it black, font size 10. I make it bold and italic. And then I'll just type in text here, just for example. So here, there's multiple placements we can have for the text. We can have it top, middle, or bottom, right? For the vertical aspect of it, top, middle, bottom, right? And then we have the horizontal aspect of it. We can do left, right, or center, right? So that would be for your trend line. So from here, you can just delete that. And from now on, whenever you create a trend line, it will be that dotted line. If for any reason in the future you want to change the settings of this dotted line, you can click on it. There will be a little bar that pops up for quick settings. And you can change the style of it. For example, I would make a solid line, make it a dashed line, make it a dotted line. I want to make it a thicker line, for example. Change the color of it, right? So if you just click on it, there will be a quick toolbar setting. You can even add alerts on it so that when price touches this line, it'll alert you. Next up, we have vertical lines, and how I like to set these ones up is when I go to settings, once again, make it black. And then I choose the first thickness, which is the thinnest one. And then I choose the opacity to be either 25% or 15%. The reason I make the opacity so low on these is because when you have a vertical line on a candlestick, it can honestly, it can block the wick from being seen. So if I were to put opacity at 100 and overlap it with this candle right here, you can no longer see that wick. So by dropping the opacity, you can see that wick again. So here I can tell the wick is here to here because it's a darker color, right? If you want, you can even make it lower, like make it 10, where that vertical line is barely visible, but you can see the candle clearly now. From here, I like to turn off time label. And then text, once again, you can turn that on. I just preset it. So I put black, 10, bold and italic on. And then you can type here September, for example. And once again, you have the text alignments where you have that horizontal placement and then you have that vertical placement. So in this case, your top, middle, bottom would be that horizontal aspect of it. So you have your top. Oh, sorry, this would still be your vertical aspect of it. So top, middle, and bottom. And then you have your left, center, and right. I personally like to put everything bottom center. And then from here, I would just put text orientation vertical. You can make it horizontal if you want, but I like to make it vertical personally. So from here, you can delete that. Once again, you can press Alt V to place that vertical line. So Alt V, and that will be preset here whenever you want to type something in, right? Type some random stuff in and it'll be preset here. Next up, we have Fibonacci retracements, and these are concepts I'm going to be teaching later on, but I'm just going to put in some preset templates for you guys so that in the future, when you guys do go to those lessons, you know exactly what I'm referring to. So a good shortcut for Fibonacci retracement is you can also press Alt F whenever you want to draw it. So that's something you'll see me do a lot, where I just click Alt F and then I just draw it out. It looks very colorful right now, but we will change that. So let me just pull up some templates for you guys. So the first one we have is the EQ, which is also known as the premium discount dealing range. This will be taught later in the lectures, but for now, I'm just going to show you guys the settings for it. So you would draw out your Fibonacci. So once again, I press Alt F and then I can draw my Fibonacci, or I can go to the top right here where my favorites toolbar is, click on the Fibonacci retracement and draw that out as well. And I'll just double click on it. And then from here, I will turn everything off except for the 0.5, 1, and 0. So turn everything off except for those ones. And then for colors, you can choose whatever colors you want. I would suggest that you just use one color, make everything black, just to make it simple. And for this one specifically, you can turn off the background. You can turn off the prices. You can turn off the levels because you just need the middle line, to be honest. The middle line, the top line, and the bottom line. And those are the most important. You can turn off the trend line as well. And then for the levels, I like to use the first thickness of the line once again to make it nice and thin. And that's how I like to do it. From here, I like to keep it a solid line. You could make it a dashed line if you want, a dotted line, for example. But this is the setting that I personally like to use. And then from here, I will save as, and I'll put premium discount dealing range. So you guys can save that for yourselves, and we're going to move on to the next Fibonacci retracement profile. The next Fibonacci profile we're going to be covering will be the projection swings. And I'm just going to set this up for you guys so that in the future when I talk about them, you guys can just pull them up very easily and take the guesswork out of it. So you can check off 3 additional boxes here. So it can be any of them. And you're going to change one of them to -2. Change another one to -2.5. And then you're going to change the last one to -4. And once you have that saved, you can turn on the levels if you want. And I like to put the labels center. Oh, sorry, not center. I like to put it at the left and in the middle. And then I like to make font size 10. And that's how I like to set up my projection swing Fibonacci. And then from here, you would click template once again, save as, and you can just type in projections. And then now you have both of these saved so that in the future, whenever you need either one of these, actually, I'll just copy paste this for you guys really quick. This is for the projection swing right here, these settings. Leave it on the screen for a little bit and delete it. And so from now on, if you guys need to apply different templates, then you'll have it pre-saved. So for example, if I want to use projection swings, then I would already have it. But then if I want to change this projection swing to just the premium discount array, right? So premium discount dealing range, I would just click on it and then it would turn it into that. Once again, you can click on it. There will be a templates button here. Click on that, projection swing, premium discount dealing range. Another way you can do it is double click on it at the bottom left, template, and you can apply your templates here as well. So those are going to be the only Fibonacci retracements that I will cover or that I have in mind for now. But in the future, if I teach anything else, then I'll add to the templates for you guys and I'll cover it in each lecture as they come. Next up, we have the long and short tool. And essentially what we use this for is just to calculate our risks. And then you can also mess around with the colors of these. But once again, I don't want to get too in depth with these because right now, if you are a new trader, you should just be strictly studying rather than trying to place trades. So once again, you can just play around with these settings. For risk, I would suggest you put 1% or lower. If you do plan to trade, make sure it's 1% or lower. And then you can just put the account size if you, in the future, when you do start trading, stuff like that. But essentially what the long tool is, this is the long tool. It just means that you are buying the market and the bottom of this tool is the stop loss and the top of this tool is the target. And then the middle of this tool would be the entry price. Vice versa, you have your shorting tool where your high of this tool is the stop loss. The low of this price, what just happened to my tool? The low of this tool would be your take profit, right? And then the middle section of this would be your entry price. Next up, we have the path tool. This one you don't have to do too much editing on, but essentially what it is just an infinite line with infinite turning points until you end it. And how you end the path is you click twice on one specific point. So that end point, I double clicked right here and it ends my path. What I like to do for this path is I'll keep it blue, but I like to use the first thickness once again of the line. And from here, that's all I do. I just leave and then I just delete it. Next up, we have the highlighter. Here you can infinitely draw. You'll infinitely draw until you right click. And once you right click, that's when you'll exit the tool. So I'm going to highlight all of these to delete it. How you highlight is you hold Control, click and drag. And then I'm going to press delete and it's going to delete everything. So that's another cool feature of Tradingview. You can just drag and select multiple things. Another thing you can do if you want is, let's say I have multiple drawings here, right? And I want to select only specific ones. So I can hold Control and I can click the specific ones I want to select, right? So I selected 5 drawings here and I click delete and delete those specific ones, for example. Yeah, that was just an extra cool feature. And one more cool feature is that when you highlight all of them, you can duplicate drawings by holding Control, clicking, and then moving when something is already highlighted. So that's also a really cool feature. Since I am covering some cool features right now, another thing is with the trend line. If you want to draw your lines in 45-degree angles, then you can hold shift and it'll automatically snap to 45-degree angles. So for example, you have your straight up 45-degree, 90-degree, right? So you can just hold shift, or if you let go of shift, it'll unbind and you can kind of draw it to anywhere you want. But I use this all the time, shift, just to make a quick, easy straight line. Back to the highlighter tool. I'm going to delete this, and you just want to select a color that you like, and you're pretty much never going to change this. So you just click on this line tool colors, you change it. I like to use black personally, and you can just keep it this way, or you can use blue. Either one works. But just find a color that you like, and you can always change it up in the future, right? So that doesn't really matter too much. Next up is my annotation tool, and that would be this text. And why I love the text is just because I get to type on my screen. You guys might not need to use this, but I suggest using this when you are journaling, because by using text, you can type out your thoughts. Like, oh, I thought price was going to do this, right? And then you just type it on the chart, for example, and then you can screenshot your chart, for example, and now you have like a nice study journal page, for example. Like you have text here, you have annotations, right? So that's a great tool to have. And what I like to do for the settings of text is I make it black, font size 10, bold, italicized, and that's it. And then last but not least is our rectangles. Is what I like to do is I like to go to style, make the border black, and also make the background like a light shade of gray. For example, this 4th one right here. And then I'll turn on the middle line as well, make it black, dotted. Opacity, make it around 25%. Same as the border, I like to change the opacity and the thickness. So the thickness is the first one. And opacity, I like to make it something like 15%, for example. And it becomes really clean. Just like that, for example. So this is how I like to draw all my rectangles. So that concludes the section for the drawing tools. The final thing I wanted to go over in Tradingview is how to screenshot your charts and to save them, because this will be very important for journaling. And once again, you guys should be journaling every single day, even if you're not trading. And you should just review how price is playing out, just so you get the most exposure to the markets as possible. So at the top right here, there will be a camera button. You'll just click on it. And then you have the option of download image, copy link, which means it'll create a link. And once you go to link, it'll bring you to a screenshot of this chart. And then you can also tweet the image if you want. A great thing about Twitter that I love doing is that I'll tweet something out. So I'll make a private Twitter for myself, and then I'll tweet out specific things at specific times. And if you copy the link of that tweet and paste it on your chart, then it will actually put an annotation for you. Another great resource that you guys can use is if you click on the publish button at the top right, you can actually record yourself. So whenever you take a trade, you can just record yourself using TradingView. So here, click on publish, and you click record video idea. and I guess just the Chrome tab, yeah, window, whatever you want to record essentially. So let's just say I'm like in a trade here and I want to record this trade, then I would just click record and I'm recording. Then once I'm done recording, then I can just stop recording essentially. So and from here you have your record, and then you can download it as well. Down here, down right, you can click download, and then after you download it, you can just kind of close it out. These videos will save as a WebM file, so you need TradingView to play these. So an alternative to this is you can use third-party software to record yourself during your trades, and you can kind of talk to yourself and talk to the recording and kind of jot down what you're feeling in the moment, stuff like that. So that way it'll be a good way to like review your emotions during a trade, and you have that self-talk live time as well to kind of keep yourself in check. So recording yourself is always a great idea. If you don't mind, then streaming to someone is also a good idea because it adds like extra pressure. And I know pressure is not good in trading, but if you can get used to that, then it'll help you, because if you have an accountability partner, for example, then they can hold you accountable and you can hold them accountable at the same time. But once again, recording your trades is always a good idea because you can always review how price is playing out in live time. And on top of that, you can review your thoughts and your analysis on price. So that's it for this TradingView tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, have a great day.